Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. This is the second meeting of the Glyphosate Commission. We wanted to begin first by taking the roll and making sure we have a quorum. I will introduce myself first. I'm Martin Suberg. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection and the Chair of the Commission. I'm going to ask even though I see you on the screen, I'm going to ask you to identify yourself. Would the representative from the Department of Agricultural Resources identify himself, please?
Thank you, Commissioner Suberg. Good afternoon, John LeBeau, Commissioner at the Mass Department of Ag Resources.
Thank you. Could the representative of the Department of Public Health identify himself, please?
Thank you, Commissioner. Mark Nascarella for Commissioner Margaret Cook, Department of Public Health.
Welcome and thank you. And from the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Eve Schluter. I am representing Mark Tiza, our director.
And a representative from the trustees.
Hi, welcome and hello, Commissioner Suberg. This is Julie Richberg, lead ecologist with the Trustees of Reservations.
Teleconference service. Please enter your access code followed by the pound sign.
Mark Smith, it sounds like you're broadcasting a little bit. Okay, now he's on mute. Mark is a very important part of our group. As you can see, we have a number of
Press star otherwise.
we have a number of individuals from staff from both the Department of Environmental Protection and the Department of Agricultural Resources who are working to serve the commission and make sure that we're able to do our work accordingly. So with that, I might move to our first agenda item, which is the approval of minutes from the November meeting. The draft meeting minutes were provided in advance of the meeting. Does anybody have any comment on the minutes?
I had just a few clarifications. My title should be the Trustees of Reservations. So a couple of minor edits there, adding the in front and getting rid of it from the middle. And then I think that we should probably have a standard using glyphosate lowercase. I saw that it was kind of uppercase in one sentence, lowercase in others. So I just note that.
Okay. So we have some corrections that we'll make sure the committee takes. Eve, comments you'd like to make?
Just a similar note that my name is misspelled on the second page. In the second to last paragraph, my last name is misspelled.
Apologies.
Happens
for that.
commonly.
Me too.
Yeah, I figure.
but we'll make sure it's corrected. We'll make sure it's corrected. Thank you for that. So if there are no further comments, then I'll make a motion that the minutes be adopted. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner LeBeau. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then the minutes are approved. Thank you, everybody. So now we come to the main item that of our agenda that we wanted to make sure that we were discussing, which is our efforts to obtain help for the commission in undertaking its work. When we were last together, the commission authorized the Department of Agricultural Resources to move forward with an RFP to seek qualified candidates to do the work. Since that time, staffs have been hard at work on the issues, and it might be at this point helpful for us to describe the efforts. I'll read the punchline a little bit. We ended up getting one bidder, And there were some things we learned about both timing and the budget in through this procurement process. But because the commission had expressed an interest in being able to review this, what the results of the bidding were, we wanted to share that with all of you. So Commissioner LeBeau, I don't know if your team wants to review it or if it's a combination of our agriculture and DEP staff, we can proceed either way.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think some type of joint approach would probably be the preferred option, acknowledging the fact that the procurement came out of MDR. Perhaps we should proceed first. That might come as a surprise to my team that's on this call. I see you, Taryn. I don't see anyone from legal. Are you willing to take a crack at that?
Sure, I will certainly do that. So just a little bit of, I guess maybe a quick overview on what we had put out there and then sort of, what the response was. So part of the RFP was essentially breaking it into two phases. The first phase being more of sort of a data collection phase where the contractor would go out and collect some basic information before then going into phase two, which would essentially be doing the deep dive. And then, we obviously had a quick timeline that we wanted to, on the turnaround time. So the first time that we posted it, we did not receive any bids. So we tweaked the language a little bit and reposted it and allowed for some movement with the timeline and then also movement with the cost. So it wasn't as narrow of a scope. And that is when we received one bid from ERG and essentially did the same thing, broke it up into the two phases and explained what they would be doing, listed out the different folks that they would have work on this. And I believe at the time that the timeline to submit a full report was the end of June, but that was given an end of January start date. So obviously we are now in March, so that would push the timeline back. And then also the cost was larger than the $50,000 that we do have allotted for this.
Okay. Well, thank you, Taryn, for that overview. It sounds like, as you indicated, there were two efforts at getting bids, and we learned something the first one that, the scope of the work we were looking for, it sounds like it was, a higher dollar figure, and then that more time would be needed to complete all of the tasks that we'd identified. And so in the second procurement, it sounds like there was, a bid that was broken out that, explained what would be done in the first phase, which is, identification of resources, identification of stakeholders, some of the survey work that we were doing, and that the balance would be about $152,000. I will say that I know staff, we initially, when this commission was established by legislation, there was an earlier due date, and also there was about $50,000 allocated to the effort. Recognizing the importance of the work, I know both we and the Department of Agriculture have been looking to see whether or not there are funds we can use to fund this contract, even as we continue to seek legislative funding to make us whole, if you will, if we choose to proceed with this contract. In other words, we're going to use, we're thinking about using existing funding right now, and it would be funding that hopefully could be reimbursed, through some form of legislative appropriation, as well as a recognition that to get all of the work done, we're probably beyond June and into July. So I don't know if anybody else from the staff has anything they want to add, but that's the situation we have before us. The contractor identified is ERG. I don't know if there's anything else that anybody wants to identify for the commission before we open it up for the commission's reactions. Okay, it doesn't sound like it. It may be that as the commission considers as we move forward. You know, I guess I would start by saying, you know, we did a couple of procurements. We've gotten this vendor. The vendor is somebody that indicates, you know, it's an entity that is known to us, and we know that this entity could do the work. And you know, there's, you know, it's given us more detail on the phases, as I've noted. I think between us and DAR, there are funds we could use to cover the contract, even while we're seeking, you know, reimbursement by the legislature to, you know, as you will, you know, fully fund the exercise. So I'm interested in the commission's views on whether, you know, you share my views that, you know, we have this contract and we should be moving forward with this.
Commissioner, or,
John?
well, I mean, I hope we've demonstrated to the commission that, you know, we've made proper effort to get this procurement out the door, to originally try to satisfy precisely what the legislative language was. As has been mentioned, no responses to the first procurement, made those tweaks, and did get a bidder, a qualified bidder, one that some of us are aware of because they're also doing work for the Commonwealth with the Mosquito Control Task Force, of which several of us, or several, well, I think virtually all of us, if I'm not mistaken, have our organizations play a role in. So I would hope the commission would be supportive of the efforts that have been undertaken to date, and you know, accept them pretty much as the reality that we face, and that we move forward with the so-called phase one initially, to try to get something back in you know, good form and in reasonably good time. I will note, I believe there is or are representatives of ERG attending this meeting right now. I never want to just call out somebody out of the blue, but you know, either to the chair or to the entire body, I don't know if there'd be any interest in hearing a brief summary of how they want to conduct the work. I just want to offer that up, and forgive me, ERG, for offering you up quite like that. But you know, hopefully the commission will find it appropriate that it take action today so we can move forward.
You know, thank you, John, and thank you for that summary. And I'm going to hold your invitation, if you will, in abeyance. I just want to make sure that if, you know, other commission members have views on that, or, you know, questions, that we address those. You know, because you know, again, if we move forward with, you know, what I'm proposing, and it sounds like Commissioner LeBeau is in agreement that we would move forward with awarding the contract, getting the first phase done as expeditiously as possible. You know, there is a commitment between DEP and DAR to make sure that we can fully fund the contract even today, even as we are seeking the additional appropriations through the legislative process, and that the timeline of July is you know, works for all of us. Julie?
I would be interested in learning more about the proposal and the phases and what information the proponent is proposing to do within phase one, just to get some more of that background as we're considering this.
Okay. I'll say, I'll give ERG, because John put them on the spot first, and now Julie's request means we're gonna actually do it. I will note that, for the RFQ, what it talked about, we described generally an initial report consisting of a summary of available information on use of glyphosate in the Commonwealth and key herbicide alternatives. They should identify and summarize use restrictions and requirements to minimize impacts. A list of key assessments, recent assessments by recognized authorities, including, for example, EPA, peer-reviewed publications, precedential judicial decisions of the potential public health and environmental impacts of glyphosate and its alternatives, and a list of key stakeholders to be consulted. And we had initially in this RFQ requested a report 3 weeks after the start of the contract to inform elements that would be included in the final report. And the commission would review and affirm the submission to complete those tasks. So that was what we put out there. So Paul, if you have the ability, if there is a representative from ERG that can summarize what they submitted back to us, that staff has had a chance to look at, maybe that is an expeditious way of doing that.
Mr. Wilhelmi has been added to the group. John, you can speak now.
Sure. This is John Wilhelmi from Eastern Research Group. I will first say I received a new laptop this week and I don't have camera capabilities just yet, but you'll be able to hear me. And thank you for having us here. So I am ERG's Vice President of Environmental and Occupational Health, and I am proposed as the manager of this effort. And I should first emphasize that we bid on this with a subcontractor also, and that was Tetra Tech. They very much specialize in ecotoxicology, and we have more the expertise in the human health side. So this would be a team effort to respond to all the different areas in the statement of work. And as Commissioner Suberg noted, we bid on this in 2 phases in response to what was in the RFP. And the first phase is what I would characterize as a methodology phase, that we outline how we propose doing the scientific review. And the second phase is more execution. And we do the review, and you all have the opportunity to review our review and submit comments, which we incorporate and finalize. I will say that when we internally we're working on costs, there's quite a range of opinions that we've done scientific assessments on chemicals of this nature before, some ranging from less than what we bid and others up to 10 times more. But it's our understanding that a lot of this will rest on some of the scientific assessments that have already been published, as well as the review of the more recent literature that's been issued on glyphosate. So that's a quick overview of this. I will say that we were intrigued on bidding this originally, but our concern was with the timeline. It was very accelerated, and it wasn't going to work out. And I think there was language in the follow-up RFP that said you would prefer a bidder who can meet a certain timeline, but you'd be open to those who propose their own. And that's what tipped the scales for us to pursue this. So that's a quick bird's eye view. If there's any further information that you'd like, please let me know.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John while we have him here with us? Okay. Not hearing any questions, then let me ask if there are any other comments before we I'm fashioning a motion here, I think, for our next course of action. Okay, in that case, I would make a motion that the commission direct DAR to immediately proceed to contract with ERG on behalf of the commission for the deliverables in the RFQ scope, subject to appropriation. A schedule of deliverables shall be updated in the contract to reflect the timing of the award. That DAR MassDEP identify and utilize funds to support the contract within legal constraints on agency funding, even as we seek legislative reimbursement to cover these costs. And to direct ERG through the contract to provide the phase 1 report to the commission as soon as is possible in accordance with the updated schedule. And to direct ERG to seek the commission's approval to proceed with the remaining work after submitting the phase 1 report, subject to review at a subsequent commission meeting and through available funding at the time. So that's my motion. I know it's a mouthful, but I think it covers the elements of what we've been talking about. I would invite a second.
Second.
Thank you, John. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll put the matter to a vote. Commissioner LeBeau?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Mark Nascarella?
Aye.
Eve?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes as well. So we will proceed in accordance with the motion. And I thank everybody for the consideration. And I thank John Wilhelmi for being willing to provide some additional information to the commission. So I think, now that we're on this course, we will get a revised schedule. And once we've gotten phase 1 of the information, I believe that's when we will schedule our next commission meeting so that we can consider the information and provide further guidance to ERG as we move forward. And somehow I managed to lose from my screen the agenda, and I'm really hoping, Ann, you can bail me out. Is there an agenda item following this that we should be dealing with? I don't know where it went. I was looking at a couple of screens here and I managed to lose it, but.
I think the only other agenda item is other business unanticipated by the chair.
Okay, so I'll ask, is there any other business that any member of the commission would like to raise right now? Mark.
Commissioner, very quickly, I think some of the DPH is fully supportive of the efforts so far. In discussing this with the leadership of the department, there were a few items that we thought the report would benefit from including. But as I've heard John Wilhelmi describe the approach, it sounds like they will be doing some stakeholder engagement. So might I just offer up that we would be interested in engaging them directly to make some recommendations on items to include. So that would be sort of one recommendation. The other is mindful that the report itself, as I understand it by the statute, is designed to be used in an individual review by the pesticide board subcommittee. And that's sort of the deliberative body that would receive the report and make a decision. I would just like to have that somewhat frame the ultimate report in terms of recommendations to the report mapped to the specific requirements of the individual review. So it's directly usable in that process. So that might also be something that could be addressed in the stakeholder engagement process, maybe engaging that body to see what elements it should include. But Those are the two sort of comments I've brought to this meeting. Thank you.
Right. Right. Very, very timely comments. And yeah, I think that's very consistent with certainly how I've been seeing the work of this, this commission and this contractor. One thing I wanted to do, if there's no other business, was to open it to any public comment that we may have.
So if anybody wants to make a public comment from the audience, if you could raise your hand electronically and we can unmute you. I am seeing no raised hands.
Okay. Thank you. In that case, I think our final order of business is a motion to adjourn. With my thanks first of all to staff at DAR and DEP that undertook significant effort in this procurement process, including a second time and revisions and trying to keep it moving on an expedited basis. And the fiscal staff that have got to find the money, and any number of other folks in our two agencies that have been working on this in support of the commission. So my thanks to them. And then secondly, my thanks to the members of the commission for being with us today. As I noted, we'll get back together again after ERG has had an opportunity to work on phase one, and we'll be able to discuss these issues from engagement to the substance of some of the matters we're talking about. And I look forward to that discussion. So I will make a move to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. And John?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Okay. Mark?
Aye.
Eve?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much, everybody. And thank you, Paul, for your technical wizardry to get us through this. And I hope everybody has a good rest of the afternoon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you all.